Hi, my name is Bob Gold, and I'm here with Elaine Caldwell from the SOPHE staff, and we're here to introduce you to the SOPHE Knowledge Center. The best way to get to the SOPHE Knowledge Center is to go to the SOPHE website at www.sophie.org/knowledgectr.cfm. That's sophie.org/knowledgecenter.cfm. When you go to that page, you'll see that there is a link to the SOPHE Knowledge Center and a brief explanation of what the SOPHE Knowledge Center is. So if you click on that link, it will bring you to the main page of the SOPHE Knowledge Center. Now let's just take a look at what is here on this main page. At the top you'll see the SOPHE logo and the label, and you'll see a series of 5 menus. A home menu, an About Us menu, search, user Q&A, and log in. The screen is divided into a number of sections. In the upper left-hand portion of the screen here will be a brief explanation of the Knowledge Center. In the upper right-hand portion, there will be a little bit of an explanation about what you can do in the SOPHE Knowledge Center. In the lower left, since you've never been here before, the SOPHE Knowledge Center will provide some recommendations based on the most frequently completed searches by others who have used the Knowledge Center. And if you were to click on any of these links, it would take you to where those previous searches brought other people. And in the lower right, you will see a box that contains a live Twitter record keyed to SOPHE tweets. And so these are actually tweets that contain the SOPHE tweet username. Now, in order to get the best and the most that you can from the SOPHE Knowledge Center, what you ought to do is log in. And as a registered user, you'll be able not only to use the Knowledge Center, but you'll be able to add to it. But if you don't have a login name already, you'll need to register. And so for the first time that you come to the SOPHE Knowledge Center, what you should do is click on the login button in the menu. And that will take you to this page. If you already have a username and password, you would enter those here. But if this is your first time, you'll click on this register button, and when you do that, it will take you to a page that allows you to establish a user profile. The critical thing about creating a user profile is that when you do searches and when you're making inquiries for specific kinds of information, the SOPHE Knowledge Center will use information about you to try and customize the results that you get based on where you work, what your interests are, and the kind of practice that you have in health education. Now you'll see at the top of this page there's a link to a page that has the privacy policy for SOPHE, how they will regard information about you, and you should take a look at that when you create your login. But then it asks you to create a few things, and what I'm going to do is go through the process of creating a new login for me so that you can see what the process is like. It asks for a display name, and in here you would create a display name based on what you would like to do. You'll use an email address that is good for you, and I will use the one that I use at the university. And you can put in a phone number that is consistent with a number that you use professionally. And then if you actually have a graphic image or photograph of yourself that you'd like to add, you can do that. In this case, I click on Choose File, and I go to my desktop, and I have an image that I use that displays, and it will, when I click Submit for this whole form, it will upload that form. Now I'm going to create my login username, and that's going to be R Gold. I'm going to create a password. You should create a password that is consistent with something you will remember and that has some degree of privacy for you. And all of us have enough experience creating passwords in different applications, and so I won't say anything more about that. There's a checkbox here that allows you to say you're willing to share your name and email with others who are doing similar work. And then the rest of this form helps define who you are as a health educator. Whether you work in media, policy, whether you're a practitioner, researcher, or principally an educator. It asks for secondary responsibilities and the setting in which you do your primary work. Following that, there's a list of content categories that allows you to define the areas in which you spend most of your time professionally. And for me, I do some work in cancer, educational and community-based programs, and health communication. And I'm also interested in public health infrastructure. I can also further fully define the populations that I work with. I can include all age groups. If I work with either simply males or females, I can choose either of those or choose both. Race and ethnicity, if you work with all groups, you can do that. I work in all areas, and I'm interested really in school and community and home as the principal areas in which I am involved in interventions. And when you're done filling out the form, you simply click on the register button and you will now become a registered user. And I'd like to share with you a couple of different things about the display now. Now that you're a registered user and you're logged on, it will welcome you as Argold. That's the name I used to create this profile. There's a link here that has now been created that allows you to come back and modify or update your profile. There's now a logout button link here, but there's also a new link that replaces the login button, and that is to add a new item. Now in a later video, we'll show you how to add new items to the SOPHE Knowledge Center. But also now there is some differences in the display. And the differences are the content of these quadrants change depending upon the profile that you've established. And so now that's the end of our first video on how to create a profile to use the SOPHE Knowledge Center. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video in which we take a look at what some of the capabilities of the SOPHE Knowledge Center are. Thank you very much.